If you replay conversations in your head, you're not overthinking, and the advice telling you to just let it go is exactly why you feel broken. You know that thing you do. Someone says something, the conversation ends, and then for the next 3 hours or 3 days, you replay it. What they said, what you said, what you should have said, over and over. Everyone tells you it's anxiety, that you're overthinking, that you need to stop analyzing everything and just relax. But here's what nobody tells you. People who replay conversations have rare psychological traits that most people don't possess. And the fact that your brain works this way isn't a flaw, it's a feature. In the next minutes, I'm going to show you the psychological traits that cause this pattern and why the people who have them process reality at a completely different level than everyone else. And here's the question no one asks. What if the problem isn't that you replay conversations, but that most people don't? This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about understanding why your brain works the way it does. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't think about conversations after they happen. And if they did, they'd understand you better instead of telling you to relax. When you replay a conversation, your brain isn't being anxious. It's doing something called depth processing. You're not just remembering what was said. You're analyzing tone, subtext, intention, and meaning. Most people process conversations at surface level. Someone says, "I'm fine." They accept it and move on. You replay it. You notice the pause before they said it, the shift in their voice, the fact that they looked away. You're not overthinking. You're noticing things other people miss. Research shows that people with high depth processing have significantly higher emotional intelligence and pattern recognition. They don't just hear words, they hear what's underneath the words. And here's the deeper pattern. Your brain isn't replaying conversations randomly. It's replaying the ones with unresolved emotional data. When someone says something that doesn't match their tone, your brain flags it. When there's subtext you didn't fully process in real time, your brain brings it back later. When there's a contradiction between what was said and what was meant, you replay it until you understand it. That's why small talk doesn't loop in your head, but that one comment from 3 days ago does. Your brain detected something that didn't add up, and it won't let it go until it processes what that something is. Most people call this anxiety. Psychology calls it advanced social cognition. The difference between you and most people isn't that you think too much, it's that you think deeper. But here's the part people don't like to hear. This trait doesn't make social situations easier. It makes them more exhausting. People who replay conversations don't just analyze the past, they simulate the future. When you replay what you should have said, your brain isn't punishing you, it's running simulations. Psychologists call this counterfactual thinking. You're testing alternate scenarios. What if I had said this instead? What if I had responded differently? What would have happened then? Most people think this is regret. It's not. It's preparation. Research shows that people who engage in this kind of thinking perform better in future social situations because they're mentally rehearsing. The point isn't genius. The point is that simulation happens in the mind before it happens in reality. When you replay a conversation and imagine what you should have said, you're not dwelling on the past. You're building a better response for next time. You're training your brain to recognize patterns and optimize outcomes. You're not stuck. You're learning. Most people need to make the same social mistake multiple times before they adjust. You make it once, replay it mentally, simulate alternatives, and don't make it again. The cost is that it feels like you can't let things go. The benefit is that you improve faster than people who do. Here's where most people completely misunderstand what's happening in your brain. When you replay conversations, you're not trying to remember what happened. You're trying to figure out what it means. Your brain has a low tolerance for ambiguity. When something doesn't make sense, when someone's words don't match their behavior, when there's a gap between what was said and what you felt, your brain can't rest until it resolves it. Psychologists call this need for cognitive closure. What it really means is that your brain is wired to find coherence in chaos. Most people can live with unanswered questions. You can't. Not because you're anxious, but because your brain is built to seek patterns, extract meaning, and create understanding. This has a cost. You can't turn it off. When someone says, "We should hang out sometime," but their tone says they don't mean it, most people forget about it quickly. You replay it. Your brain detected the mismatch and needs to resolve it. Is this person being polite? Are they uncomfortable? Are they lying? Did I misread it? Your brain won't stop until it has an answer. This isn't overthinking. This is meaning making, and meaning making is how humans survive ambiguity. People who can't do this are easier to manipulate. They take things at face value. They trust words over behavior. You don't, and that's not a weakness. But it's also not always comfortable. While other people sleep, you're still processing that conversation from Tuesday. There's another layer most people miss. Replaying conversations isn't just about the other person. It's about calibrating yourself. When you replay what you said, you're checking for alignment. Did I come across the way I intended? Did I say something that could be misinterpreted? Did I reveal too much or too little? Was my tone right? Most people don't do this. They say things and move on. You say things and then analyze them from the other person's perspective. This is called perspective taking, and it's one of the rarest cognitive traits humans have. Most people assume others think like they do. You don't. You replay conversations because you're testing how you were received. You're reverse engineering the interaction to see if your message landed the way you meant it. That's why you notice when you said something slightly awkward 3 sentences ago. Why you cringe at a joke that didn't land. Why you replay the moment you interrupted someone or talked too long. You're not being hard on yourself. You're calibrating, and calibration is how you improve. Most people repeat the same social mistakes because they never review the tape. You review it constantly, which means you adjust constantly. The downside is you feel every micro failure. The upside is you don't repeat them. Conversations that felt aligned don't loop. There's nothing to resolve. Everything else does. And that's your brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. There is also an empathy component that's easy to miss. When you replay conversations, you're not just analyzing yourself. You're analyzing the other person. What were they really saying? What were they feeling? What did I miss in the moment that I'm picking up now? This is delayed empathy, and it's a sign of advanced emotional processing. Most people experience empathy in real time, if at all. You experience it in layers. In the moment, you're managing your own response. Later, when you replay the conversation, you're free to focus entirely on the other person. Their tone, their word choice, their body language. You replay it because you're trying to understand them more deeply than you could in real time. This means you pick up on pain that other people miss. Someone makes a joke that's slightly too defensive. Most people laugh and forget. You replay it because you heard the hurt underneath. Someone says they're fine, but their energy is off. Most people take them at their word. You replay the conversation looking for clues about what's actually wrong. This can make you exhausting to be, but it also makes you the person people come to when they need to be understood. You're not overthinking their words. You're hearing what they didn't say. That's a gift. And also, a burden you didn't ask for. The replaying doesn't stop until integration happens. Your brain isn't stuck in a loop. It's processing information until it can file it away. Think about conversations that stopped looping. What changed? You either got clarity, found a pattern, or made peace with the ambiguity. The replay ends when your brain completes the integration. This is why some conversations loop for hours and others for weeks. The more complex the emotional data, the longer integration takes. A simple misunderstanding resolves quickly. A conversation where someone's behavior contradicted their words takes longer because your brain is updating its model of that person. Most people don't do this level of integration. They experience conversations, form surface impressions, and move on. You can't move on until the information is fully processed. Integration doesn't mean letting it go. It means understanding it deeply enough that it no longer requires active attention. That's why you eventually stop replaying most things. Not because you forced yourself to, but because your brain finished processing. Here's what all of this means. If you replay conversations, you have depth processing, simulation capacity, meaning-making drive, social calibration, and empathy amplification. These aren't flaws. They're rare psychological traits. But let's be honest about the cost. Your brain never fully rests. You feel social interactions more deeply than you want to. You notice things other people get to ignore. Small comments stay with you for days, and you can't just let things go no matter how many times someone tells you to. It's lonely because most people don't understand why you can't just move on. But here's the benefit. You understand people at a level most people never reach. You improve faster. You see patterns earlier. And you're hard to manipulate because you notice when things don't add up. You're not broken. You're processing reality at a different resolution. And the world needs people who think this deeply, even if it's exhausting to be one of them. So here's what it comes down to. People who replay conversations aren't overthinking. They're depth processing, simulating, meaning making, calibrating, and empathizing at levels most people can't access. This isn't something to fix, it's something to understand. Most people will still tell you to just relax. Don't listen to them. Instead, think about the last conversation you replayed, not to analyze it again, but to notice which trait was active. Because understanding why your brain works this way changes everything.